Hi, everybody. It's Ricky Heller from rickyheller.com. I'm a writer, book coach, and editor. I help you discover what it is you want to say in your book, then write it and get it out into the world so you can share your message. So, today I want to talk about what it is that I actually do and how I can help you write your book so that we can work together to get that book done and get it out there. And one of the things I do, I generally do three different kinds of work with authors: ghostwriting, developmental editing, and book coaching. So, one of the things I do is ghostwriting. And that is a little different from what you might think of when you think of ghostwriting. So, I wanted to talk about each of these three things. I'm going to do it in three separate videos so that you get a really clear idea of what it is you're signing up for if you decide to work together. And I'll just start by saying, if you have any questions at all about what I'm talking about, or if something isn't clear and you want me to elaborate, just leave a comment with your question and I will absolutely get back to you. Okay, so ghostwriting. When most of us think of ghostwriting, or let me say the traditional form of ghostwriting, like if you think of a celebrity who does a biography and an autobiography and they've had it ghostwritten, normally what happens is the ghostwriter sits down with that person for hours and hours at a time and listens, interviews, records, and then goes off and writes the whole book. Now, that is a monumental endeavor. It can reach the six-figure mark in pricing. So for most people, that's not an option. However, what I do is a little bit different. I work with usually entrepreneurs to ghostwrite their material, but it can also be anybody who's interested, even if you have a memoir that you'd like to write. If you already have your idea, and even if you already have some of the material done, this could be a situation where a ghostwriter is warranted. So let me give you a couple of scenarios. Maybe you're a busy entrepreneur, you have a specific formula that you use with your clients, either in a course or a membership or something, and you want to convert that into a book. But you just don't have the time. You're busy, you're dealing with clients. So that's a perfect scenario where you might work with a ghostwriter. Another scenario is maybe a similar situation, or as I said, somebody who wants to write a memoir, maybe somebody who wants to write a cookbook, but you just don't feel that you have the writing chops. So maybe you would love to write it yourself, but you feel that your skills when it comes to writing aren't as great as you'd like them to be. You're really good when it comes to chatting. You could talk up a storm, but not write. So those are two scenarios where you really want to write the book yourself, but for whatever reason, that's not feasible. That's where this kind of ghostwriter comes into play. So I do it a little differently from most ghostwriters. What would happen in a scenario where we're working together is, as I said, you probably already know what you want to write about, or you might have already started and just found that the writing itself isn't for you. So we would spend some time initially. This is what I call a book builder session. And these are one-off sessions I do with people who maybe just want to get things organized and then go off and write the book themselves. It's also always the first step in ghostwriting and in book coaching with me. So we spend some time together nailing down what is your specific topic, what is your specific thesis or message that you want to put out through the book. We make sure that the organization is really clear so that by the time we're finished with that book builder, we have a really tight table of contents and you know exactly what it is in terms of a general plan where you're going to go with this material. That table of contents also allows you to know what needs to be included or not in the book. So from that, you can then begin to create the notes and the material for the book. What generally happens with people who hire me as a ghostwriter is you obviously know your material. You want to write the book yourself, but you're just not able to do so. So for many people, speaking it is the way to do it. So people will create audio tapes of or audio recordings. I don't know if they come in tapes anymore, really. Audio recordings of the content of the book. And if you have an outline, you just follow through that outline and talk through every part of the book. Then the next step is to convert that into a written manuscript. So a written transcript, you can do that. You can use, there are lots of different programs online that you can use to convert your audio recordings into a transcript, and you can send those over to me, or you can just send me the audio recordings and I will convert them into transcripts. but I always work from the written word. For me, as a writer who's been doing this my whole life, that's the way I work best, is that if I have something written in front of me. So I will take those transcripts and I will then convert that into your manuscript. Now, I want to make one thing clear. When I work as a ghostwriter, it is your manuscript and it should sound like you. People who don't know that there was a ghostwriter involved should have no idea there was a ghostwriter involved. They should feel like they're reading your writing, that the style and the voice is yours and true to you. How does that happen? Well, a couple things. As somebody who's been a writer for over 40 years now, I am able to sort of drop into different styles and different types of writing. So that's part of it. But I also really have to dig into my undergraduate acting classes to some degree, and I take on the persona of the person that I'm writing for so that I can drop into what you would sound like when you're writing. And that's something that's a skill that takes years to acquire. It's also something that for some of us, people like me, is fun. I like to do that. So it's a fun challenge for me and I'm able to do it. And it's something that I work with the writers, because I'm going to call you the author. You're the author of your own book. I work with the authors to make sure that that works well. So what will generally happen is at the beginning, I'll take usually the introduction, but I'll take a chunk of the transcripts that you sent. I will convert that into a piece of your manuscript, sometimes a chapter, sometimes a little bit less than a chapter. I'll write it in the way that is your style. And the beauty of this is if I have those transcripts that are based on your voice, it's exactly how you speak. So I have a really clear idea of how you speak based on those transcripts, which came from you actually speaking. I will convert that into a clear, concise, well-written transcript that I then send back to you, manuscript that I send back to you. And I want to be sure that you're happy with it and that it sounds right to you. So once you've read that initial sample and we can go back and forth, we do some revisions to make sure that it sounds right, that you feel comfortable with it, that you feel like if I was able to, I could have written this. This could be me, right? That's what we want to happen there. Once we get to that point, then I have a really good feel for how to write it. I will go and write the rest based on those transcripts. Along the way, we will meet regularly because I'm not just going to leave you hanging until the whole book is done. We're going to meet regularly at different intervals, again, to discuss how's it going? How do you feel about it? Are you happy with the work so far? Are there any changes? Do we need to modify anything? So we'll do that as we go and keep it moving as we go. And then once the manuscript is finished, we'll have one more run through where you read it, any final changes are made. But by the time we're done with that, you should feel happy with the material. It should say everything you want to say in a way that's really clear and is going to resonate with your audience in a really effective way. And then that manuscript is pretty much ready to be sent to the publisher. Based on the work I do, I know that a developmental edit will no longer be required once I have written the manuscript. And you probably won't need a copy editor either, because I work as a copy editor. I have worked as a copy editor in the past. So I know my writing is grammatically correct, concise, clear, clean, all of that. What you will probably need finally is a proofreader and a publisher. So those are the last two steps always before the book is published, and you can send it off. And within a very short time, you will have a published book in your hands. So the ghostwriting process in general takes anywhere between 6 months and a year. It depends on how quickly the author is able to generate the materials that I then rewrite. And again, part of that process and part of what happens when we meet is if you are stuck, if you encounter any blocks, we can work through those. I can help you to figure out where to go next and what to talk about next in your recordings that I will then convert into the manuscript. So I hope that's helpful. If you are interested in writing a book, but you've always just felt like, I want to write this book, but I don't think I can do the writing. Or I want to write this book, but I just don't think I have the time. That's a perfect opportunity for us to chat and see how I can help, if this would be a good fit for me to be the ghostwriter for your book, So you can just send me an email at ricky@rickyheller.com or click the link in the show notes below for a clarity call. That's a free call where we'll talk about your book, the topic, what we can do together, and just see if we would be a good fit. And if not, I promise I will recommend somebody who I think is better. These are never pushy or salesy calls. I will never do that to people. It's really just an opportunity to see what we can do and if we would be a good fit to work together, and if so, how to proceed from there. So I hope to hear from you one way or the other. Again, if you have any questions, leave them below, and I will talk to you again next time. Hope this was helpful.